last episode of Invincible ended with one of the most horrifying moments in superhero history. The Guardians of the Globe, the most powerful heroes on Earth, were brutally massacred. Not by an alien army, not by a supervillain, but by Omni-Man himself, the man the entire planet trusted. And now, in Episode 2, somehow this man is lying in a hospital bed pretending to be a victim. That's what makes this episode so unsettling from the very first minute. Because the audience knows the truth. We know what he did, but nobody else does. Not the government, not the public, not even his own son, Mark Grayson. And while the world mourns fallen heroes, Mark is finally beginning the life he always dreamed about. He finally has powers. He finally gets to become a real superhero. But every exciting moment now has this dark shadow hanging over it because we know his father is hiding something monstrous. And that tension drives this entire episode. The episode opens with the aftermath of the massacre. The headquarters of the Guardians of the Globe looks like a war zone. Blood stains the walls. Bodies are being removed. Investigators search every inch of the room, trying to understand what happened. Nothing makes sense. There are no signs of forced entry, no evidence of an outside attack, no alien weapons, just devastation. And one survivor, Omni-Man. The Global Defense Agency immediately steps in to control the situation. And this is where we meet one of the most important characters in the entire series, Cecil Stedman. Cecil doesn't look like a typical powerful government leader. He looks tired, exhausted, like a man who hasn't slept properly in years. But underneath that calm and exhausted appearance is someone extremely intelligent and extremely dangerous. He understands that whatever killed the Guardians was powerful enough to threaten the entire planet. And even though Omni-Man survived, Cecil clearly doesn't fully trust the situation. Something feels wrong. Very wrong. While investigators continue searching the crime scene, another figure enters the picture. And honestly, this character changes the entire tone of the story. Damien Darkblood, a literal demon detective. A supernatural investigator with the energy of a noir detective straight out of a dark crime thriller. The moment Darkblood appears, the story stops feeling like a normal superhero show. Now it feels like a murder mystery. Darkblood studies the crime scene carefully. The blood patterns, the impact marks, the positions of the bodies. And almost immediately, he senses something disturbing. This wasn't a random attack. This feels personal, calculated, intentional. And slowly, silently, suspicion begins forming around Omni-Man. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Debbie Grayson sits beside her husband's bed. She's emotionally exhausted. In a single night, the world lost its greatest heroes, and her husband nearly died. At the same time, her son is beginning his superhero journey. Everything around her feels unstable. And the most painful part is that she has absolutely no idea the man she's worried about is actually responsible for the massacre. Mark visits his father in the hospital and genuinely looks worried. He still admires Nolan completely. To Mark, Omni-Man is still the perfect hero, the perfect father. And that makes every scene between them incredibly uncomfortable for the audience. Because now, every calm expression from Nolan feels fake. Every word feels calculated. Eventually, Nolan wakes up. And what's disturbing is how calm he is. There's no panic, no emotional breakdown, no confusion, just cold control. He immediately begins explaining the attack as if he barely survived some terrible ambush. And nobody can prove otherwise. At least not yet. But while all of this tension builds behind the scenes, Earth suddenly faces another threat entirely. Without warning, massive portals begin opening across the city. Alien soldiers pour through the portals and begin attacking civilians. These invaders are known as the Flaxans. At first, the Flaxans seem like a standard alien invasion force. But the deeper this episode goes, the more interesting they become. Mark immediately rushes into action. This is one of his first major chances to actually be a hero, and unlike the dark horror surrounding Omni-Man, these moments initially feel energetic and exciting. Mark is still inexperienced, though. He's powerful, but reckless. He charges into danger without thinking. Still, watching him finally fight as a superhero feels exciting because despite everything happening around him, Mark genuinely wants to help people. The Flaxans attack aggressively at first, but then something strange happens. They suddenly begin aging rapidly. Their bodies weaken, their skin wrinkles. Some of them literally collapse into dust. Then, they retreat back through their portals. At first, nobody understands what happened, but soon the heroes realize the truth. Time moves differently in the Flaxan dimension. In their universe, time passes much faster than it does on Earth, so while only minutes pass for humans, years may pass for the Flaxans. Earth's environment causes their bodies to age rapidly. That means every second they remain on Earth is deadly for them. And this creates one of the coolest mechanics in the series, because every time the Flaxans retreat back into their dimension, they have years to adapt and improve before returning. For humans, they disappear briefly. For the Flaxans, entire generations pass. And when they return the second time, they come back stronger. Better technology, better weapons, better protection against Earth's atmosphere. During these battles, Mark encounters a new superhero group called the Teen Team. This is where the episode really starts expanding the world beyond just Omni-Man and Mark. First, there's Robot, a highly intelligent strategist who remotely controls robotic drones in combat. Robot rarely shows emotion. Everything he does feels calculated and precise. Then there's Rexplode, a loud and arrogant hero who can charge objects with explosive energy. He flicks explosive coins at enemies like bullets. His personality is chaotic and cocky, but he's effective in battle. Then comes Duplicate, a fighter capable of creating multiple copies of herself instantly. She overwhelms enemies through numbers and coordinated attacks. And finally, there's the standout hero of the group, Adam Eve, one of the most visually creative heroes in the entire series. Her powers allow her to manipulate matter at a molecular level. She can create constructs out of energy, transform objects, generate shields, create weapons, even reshape materials completely. During battle, her powers look incredible. Pink energy structures form instantly around her. She creates barriers to protect civilians, changes dangerous objects into harmless materials, controls the battlefield in ways nobody else can. And almost immediately, Mark connects with her. Unlike school, unlike normal life, Eve understands what it feels like to live between two worlds. There's a natural chemistry between them. Their conversations feel easy, comfortable, real, and you can already feel a strong connection forming. Meanwhile, the Flaxans continue evolving. Every invasion becomes more dangerous. The second invasion hits harder than the first. Then the third invasion becomes a full-scale disaster. Buildings collapse. Explosions tear through the streets. The Teen Team struggles to hold the line. What makes these battles exciting is how differently every hero fights. Robot coordinates strategies from a distance. Rex creates chaos with explosive attacks. Duplicate overwhelms enemies using sheer numbers. Adam Eve manipulates the battlefield itself. And Mark crashes through enemies using raw strength and speed. But despite all their efforts, the invasions keep getting worse. At the same time, Mark's personal life begins falling apart. He struggles to balance school and hero work. He's constantly exhausted, late for class, distracted during conversations, and emotionally overwhelmed. His crush on Amber Bennett represents the normal life he's slowly losing. A regular teenage relationship becomes almost impossible when you're secretly fighting alien invasions. At school, Mark tries acting normal, but the pressure is building fast. Every responsibility pulls him in a different direction. And then there's Nolan. Back home, Omni-Man continues recovering. But now every interaction with him feels disturbing. He speaks calmly, acts supportive, trains Mark like a loving father. But after what we witnessed in Episode 1, every moment feels poisoned by the truth. Sometimes Nolan stares at Mark in ways that feel almost analytical, like he's evaluating him, testing him, measuring him, Meanwhile, Damien Darkblood continues investigating the massacre. And the deeper he digs, the more suspicious Omni-Man becomes. Darkblood notices inconsistencies in the evidence. Certain injuries don't make sense. Some attack patterns suggest the killer fought with overwhelming physical strength matching only one person. Omni-Man. But accusing Earth's greatest hero is dangerous, especially without proof. As the investigation continues, the Flaxans launch their biggest invasion yet. This time, they arrive fully prepared. Their new technology protects them from rapid aging. Suddenly, the heroes are overwhelmed. Entire city blocks are destroyed. Civilians run in terror. Even the teen team begins struggling badly. Mark fights desperately, but the Flaxans are stronger than before. The battlefield becomes chaos. And then, everything changes. Omni-Man arrives. The moment he appears, the atmosphere shifts instantly. Because unlike Mark, Omni-Man doesn't fight like a hero trying to save people. He fights like an unstoppable force of destruction. He tears through alien ships effortlessly, destroys entire groups of enemies in seconds. Bodies explode on impact. Nothing can slow him down. And then he does something terrifying. He flies directly into the Flaxan portal, straight into their dimension. What follows is one of the most brutal sequences in the episode. Omni-Man completely devastates the Flaxan world. Cities burn, structures collapse, entire armies are wiped out instantly. He moves through their civilization like a natural disaster. And finally, he sends them a message: never return to Earth. It's an incredible display of power, but also deeply horrifying, because it reminds the audience once again that Omni-Man may be the most dangerous being on the planet. By the end of the episode, the mystery surrounding Nolan only becomes darker. And that's a wrap for today's Rewind. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Cinewind, and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into the worlds of movies, series, and anime. Got a film, show, or hidden gem you want us to cover next? Drop it in the comments below. We read them all. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and let the stories live on. This is Cinewind, signing off.